It's recording now.
Let's start. I'll make it 6 o'clock. So welcome to this evening's meeting of South Oxfordshire District Council Cabinet. I'm David Rain. I'm leader of the council and I'll be chairing the meeting. If you could take a roll call, please, Becky, and we'll pick up apologies as we do.
So, thank you, Chair. In alphabetical order, if members can please confirm if they are present in the meeting room or present online. So, obviously, I'll start with Councillor Peter Paul Barker. We've received apologies from him. So Councillor Robin Bennett.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Sam Casey Raray.
I'm present remotely, and I will be keeping my video off a bit because I've got very little connection.
Thank you. Councillor Maggie Filipova Rivers.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Georgina Heritage.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Sam James Laurie.
Present online.
Thank you. Councillor David Rain.
Present in the room.
Thank you. And Councillor Anne-Marie Simpson.
Present in the room.
Thank you so much.
It's so covered. Apologies. Chair's announcements. I don't have any. We're all old hands here, so we know the way out if the fire bell goes. Declarations of interest. To receive declarations of disclosure of pecuniary interest, other registrable interest, and non-registrable interest, or any conflicts of interest in respect to items on this agenda. I'll go first as I'm a member of Oxfordshire County Council, which is one of the other councils which is putting forward the proposal, but I've checked with on advice from the monitoring officer. It's okay for me to participate as long as that is registered. Anyone else? Councillor Bennett.
The same. I'm also a member of Oxfordshire County Council.
Okay, if anyone else?
Yes, me.
Oh, Sam was in. Oh, yes.
I'm actually an employee of Oxfordshire County Council, but I've taken advice and I can participate.
Okay. Is that everyone? Item 4 is urgent business. We don't have any other than the matter in hand. Item 5, public participation. Do we have any public participation?
So thank you, Chair. We don't actually have any registered speakers for tonight. I am aware of Councillor Ken Arlett and Andrew Power online.
Any of the councillors online intending to speak?
I'm not intending to speak, David.
Okay, thanks.
I did send you an email.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Thank you to both of you. Which will move us on to item 6, which is the interim proposals and preparations for local government reorganisation. I'll propose this and introduce the item, and then Councillor Bennett will second and can then open up to discussion. So my introduction, I would say, first thing to be aware of is that we have no choice about whether to become a unitary authority. This is something which has been determined by the government, and they have a timetable that we are working to. So we are working within their guidance as to and their criteria as to what a unitary council should look like. We have before us within the paper 3 proposals for that cover our area. One from Oxfordshire County Council, which covers the whole of Oxfordshire as its footprint. So one unitary authority for the whole of Oxfordshire. The paper from officers has assessed, not surprisingly, I guess, that would be a viable option. And so there's every reason why that should go forward. It wouldn't be my preferred option, and in the paper we set out why. We as a council have a long-standing commitment that the county is too large to form a single unitary. And in the past, we've looked at Southern Vale as being a potential footprint for a council. Under the government's criteria, that would be too small. And so that is why we asked officers to look at a combination with West Berkshire Council, leaving, so there would be two unitaries under that proposal, one covering the area that we're now calling, as a working title, the Ridgeway, and another northern unitary, which would cover West Oxfordshire, Cherwell, and the city. Our main question to officers was, would this be a viable proposal? And the paper sets out why it would be, and it would be large enough to be financially viable, and meeting our criteria of being small enough to be responsive to local need. So that is the preferred option that is put forward in the paper and that I'll be supporting. There is a third option in the paper, which is for an enlarged Oxford City. I have my concerns that does not meet the government's criteria for a viable submission, and I would have concerns about us spending public money on something which isn't viable. But I'll be guided by officers as to how we proceed. But it's clear that that proposal is going to be put forward. My concerns about it, reading the paper, are that, first of all, that the geography is ill-defined. There isn't a map setting out which area is covered. The size of it, Oxfordshire plus West Berkshire has a population of about 900,000, so you can get two local authorities that are approaching the 500,000 government target. You can't get three. That's not how numbers work. So what we would be left with would be at least one and possibly two authorities that were too small under the government's criteria. The third reason is that it would require boundary changes. The government urged us to use existing council boundaries. The third proposal would require boundary changes, and it would be difficult to see how that could be done on the timescale that's being proposed. And finally, and I think one of the most problematic from our point of view in terms of protecting our residents, is that the government highlights the risks to vulnerable residents of disrupting adult and children's services. There are two existing adult social care departments and two existing children's services departments within the footprint, being the County Council and West Berkshire. If you're setting up three councils, or dividing that into three councils, then you would have to necessarily set up a new adult social care service and children's service from scratch, which again be very demanding in resources, and I think a potential risk to the residents who depend on those services. So I would like us, amongst all of the, you look at the list of recommendations, I would like us to accept all of those and resolve to submit or to facilitate the submitting, either through the county or ourselves, of the proposal that we, the Vale and West Berkshire, have put together as our preferred option, realising that the county is going to put forward their proposal, which we think is a viable option, but not our preferred option, and that the Oxford City has added a third option, which we don't think is viable on the evidence of what they've produced so far. So that's my proposal. I'll stop at that point and let other people contribute and If I've missed anything, I'll pick it up in summation.
Are we straight into debate?
Do people have questions? Or shall we go straight into debate? Let's go into debate. Councillor Bennett.
Or shall I second now?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll second now. Very happy to second. And certainly, the green view has always been that some of the view probably is that local government should exist on the most local and appropriate footprint possible. And the paper we have in front of us does quote in paragraph 8 the motion we had way back, probably was it in 2019, possibly, or 2020, but it's
1920,
where we were like Nostradamus predicting this would happen. And so it said, should such structural change occur in the future, in addition to securing increased value for money and service delivery, it's also aimed to increase, not reduce, localised accountability for service provision and resource allocation, and should support the devolution of power to the lowest sustainable level. So we were much better at being coherent back then, and that still makes a lot of sense to me. And I want to really applaud our officers and the teamwork that's gone on to produce the Ridgeway proposal, because it really stands up in a very convincing way. I think it's important to note the understanding is that neither the district councils nor the county council can fully decide how the new council will work. That will be down to the new council, whatever that is, and that will have, if it's elected as a shadow council, as we expect, that will do put in a lot of the detail of how it actually works. So the only thing we're really making is, well, not the only thing, but one of the main things we're saying here is that debate of this, the size of the footprint, and as the leader has said, the Oxford one, we're working within the constraints that the government set up. We probably wouldn't have kicked off the use of torturous sports analogy, but we probably wouldn't have started this process off in the exact way that they have, but here we are. And I think the nimbleness with which we've got this together, and I mean, it's unbelievable, really. I think this only started moments before Christmas. It's really impressive. And looking at the government has said 500,000, and the housing-led projections in the report here, and Oxfordshire has for a long time used housing-led projections because they have proved to be accurate. I'm not commenting whether these are or not, but gives Ridgeway a population of 658,000 by 2050. So we all know this is a very fast-growing area. So I think, and I'm disappointed to read in Oxford. I won't comment too much on Oxford's proposal because I don't think we should give it too much of the time of day. But our proposal, we recognise that mayors are coming in on strategic authorities. And my understanding of the legislation, I think Mark here, is that the kind of allocation decisions at a high level will be done at the mayoral level. So the idea that because there's a boundary line, Oxford will be in some way held back doesn't make any sense, and it's not true now either. I mean, the only strategic site that has made zero progress in our current local plan is the one that Oxford City currently owns. So I don't think that argument holds any water. So I just, but I won't give it any further thought than that. And I've always felt that, and certainly all the feedback I get from parish councils and residents is that Oxfordshire is too remote of a level for the bottom tier of full-time local government. Of course, we have great parish and town councils, but most of them have one paid staff member, certainly at the parish level. And it wouldn't be fair to place all the localism burden on towns and parishes. So in conclusion, I know that it would be possible to hire PricewaterhouseCoopers or another consultant again, and I'm sure the county could do that and show that every increase in scale creates greater efficiencies. But there's also, I mean, to quote the LGA report, despite the conviction with which cases made that increases in council size improve efficiency, effectiveness and performance, no consistent or conclusive results were found in a study of the literature on that by Colin Copus, so only a few years ago. So whilst in some cases there'll probably be some more efficiency, there's certainly no guarantee of it, and a lot of that depends on how the new council is set up and operates. So in the conclusion before, now I'm going to conclude. say that I think the proposal we have makes the most sense, and happy to support the recommendations.
Thanks. Would anyone else like to? Councillor Philippa Willis.
I have some bad news for you. I haven't made any notes, so this is going to be a bit waffly. But again, I have to start with thanks for Mark and his team, and for David and his team. I'm joking, and David personally, for getting us to really a viable option that I think I can feel excited about. And I think given that this is, again, a no choice reorganization, I think in a way to have something to be excited about is no small feat. Now, am I using that expression correctly? Oh, yes. Yeah. So I think the proposal is incredible, and for an interim one, right? This is not the final one. This is very, very detailed. And what I also love is that we have a very good plan for engagement from now up until November 28th as the final date for the submission, the date for the final submission. So I think it would be really interesting, and I'm sure that responses from various stakeholders will really add to the evidence base to support that submission. It probably wouldn't surprise you, given that my ward sits right next to West Berkshire, that I personally view the Ridgeway option as my most preferred one. And there are probably two main reasons for it. One of them is that by many residents and people that I have spoken to, Oxfordshire as a geography does seem remote, and because there is a central city and an urban centre, a lot of the discussions, resources and efforts are channeled towards that urban centre. And the feeling is, and my feeling is, that if we have areas with similar geography, demography, with market towns here, there and everywhere, that perhaps there would be just a fairer allocation of the time and resource spent to develop these areas. And I think ultimately we need to recognise that although certainly South Oxfordshire is seen as a kind of a leafy areas, even here, our services are on their knees. We have a really big job to do in order to ensure that we can improve. So that's one of the reasons. I think the kind of city state, as David calls it, model has not really worked, and I think we need to try something different. And the other one is the democratic deficit. I do feel that there will be a reduction of councillors one way or another, but I feel that with a smaller unitary, perhaps that reduction would be smaller. And I really have, as a district councillor, experienced this personally, where I constantly find myself doing casework. I spent actually a couple of hours today on a bit of casework that had nothing to do with district, and it's very much a county, a bridle-way issue. And yeah, I think it's really, really difficult to envisage how one person can do that for the vast division that would be likely the one covered by a councillor. I know these are still things to be decided, but nonetheless, I do feel that cutting down the number of councillors would really be challenging in terms of access. And so I think I will probably leave it there, but I think there is some excitement around this. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is it's really great to see. I know that various other cabinets are discussing the various options, and what I find across all of them is that they are prioritising that certainty both for residents and for staff members, because we are nothing without our capable staff, and we want to give them that certainty going forward. So, and I know this is something David and Mark have been very, very conscious of, and again, services are on their knees, and I think we really, really need to do whatever option the Secretary of State chooses. The priority of us, and of course, I am sure the shadow authority following us, will be to cause the most minimal disruption that possibly could be.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, I'm recognising straight away that what you've already said, that this is happening to us, local government reorganisation is happening to us. And I think it's been picked up just now by Councillor Filipova Rivers that we're going forward with some certainty by going early. And I think we should be doing that. But I think there's been sometimes some criticism of timing out there. But I think it's good because actually what we want to do is influence as much as we possibly can, while bearing in mind that it's the Secretary of State that makes the decision in the end. And I think actually I do share also some of Councillor Filipova Rivers' excitement in the fact that we actually have two viable proposals or two viable options. There are three proposals on the table, but as I see it, two viable options. I think that the city's proposal may have ambition but lacks clarity, and I really don't see it as a viable option. I think that's a view shared by others. So I'm excited that county, I guess people could look at it and say a large county, how simple it would be to make that a one unitary. However, with that, I think they're overlooking the complexity of that and actually perhaps the lack of responsiveness. I think it's also been touched on that it feels remote, a big single authority, third largest in England. It said in the papers it would be. So then looking at our proposal, and I'd again like to thank officers, actually right across the county, but particularly our officers for pulling together our proposal, because actually I think it's the best written proposal. Not just the writing, but the content. I do feel that it's had thought put into it, and we have been thinking about unitary for a while, as I think Councillor Bennett and Councillor Wayne mentioned. Back in 2019, we already put forward a preferred option for smaller unitary. So we're not doing anything unusual here by looking at putting forward our own proposal to, arguing what we hope for. So I absolutely fully support all the recommendations. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. And let's see what happens going forward. I hope Secretary of State bears us in mind when he comes to looking at the proposal.
Thank you. Anyone else? Heritage.
I'll be very brief. I just want to. I don't live near West Berks. In fact, I'm probably the furthest point away. But the Ridgeway is the path that we walk from the parish that I live in. But for me, and according to the feedback that I've received locally, say as with my colleagues, the Ridgeway Council proposal is the perfect fit on a local basis. I feel strongly that this proposal, this council, would be the most responsive to our residents. The proposal itself is fully comprehensive. It's entirely viable. It recognises the similarities between our districts, the market towns, the rural nature of our areas for socio-economic reasons. And I believe that the Ridgeway Council, this proposal, we would have a council that would know and understand its residents' priorities. Having said that, I do appreciate the reasoning behind the county-wide proposal, and I think we are fortunate to have two positive proposals for Oxfordshire. But in short, I'm very happy to support and move forward with this and to accept the recommendations.
Yeah, thank you. That's everyone in the room. Anyone online? I don't see any hands up. Nick, our monitoring officer, had his hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm, because I know some, particularly the last speaker, was putting very strong views forwards. Just to confirm for you as Chair that they're absolutely content that what's being described as strong views, not views that couldn't be shifted by further evidence or by the process we're about to go through. So just to confirm, because I know that some councils have had questions put to them about predetermination and so on, just to confirm that I'm completely happy that none of the debate so far has crossed that line in any way. So I just wanted to get that out there, Chair. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Liberal Democrats. That's what we did. We listened to people. Anyone else online? If not, I'll do a sum up. Obviously, The one area that I didn't cover, I think there's been pretty much unanimity on the views on the local government reorganisation. The one area I didn't cover was strategic authority, and we do note in here our preference, recognising that it's the county, it's for the county to put forward the preference for Oxfordshire, Berkshire, and should they choose to join Buckinghamshire as a footprint for the strategic authority. That is based on again, government guidance that we should look at other strategic authorities, whether it's Thames Valley Police or the Integrated Care Board, which do vaguely follow those footprints. Not exactly, it wouldn't be a British government thing if there weren't differences from one department to another. So I would just want to highlight that as proposal H. And finally, to echo what other people have said about thanking our staff for what is an amazing piece of work over the last couple of months. And it really has only been about a couple of months. Mark's here to take the credit because that's his job. But there were others involved. And yeah, it's been a massive team effort across all of our departments, because a reorganisation will affect everyone, and everyone's had to consider what the effect on them will be. And I think it was Maggie who raised the need for certainty. I think all of us probably in our working lives at one time or another have been subject to some sort of relocation or restructuring that has required redundancies or changes in roles, and it's very unsettling for you to actually concentrate and get on with your job. And we absolutely need our officers to be able to get on with their jobs so that we can do the day-to-day work whilst this is going on. So I'm happy to propose these recommendations, which are on your paper, A to I. So if we can move to a vote on that, can I see those in favour of those recommendations? That's everyone in the room, so unanimous. So on that, you haven't sneaked something else on the bottom of your side. That is all our business. I've declared the meeting closed.
Just recording.